Hello. My name's Tim Mumm. That's a sign name. Some people call me Mum. Hey, you, Chris, you did a play when you were at Delvin. Were you involved with Robin Hood, that play? Weren't you Little John?
I was Little John. Little John.
So that is my Little John. So this story is actually about that play.
Awesome.
In 1990, in the 90s at some point, I believe it was in April, we were going to do I was a director, co-director for a play that was going to be happening. The two of us wrote the play and we directed it. Me and Peg. You remember Peg.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we
remember Peg.
would disagree about how things should play out, but at the end of the day, it was Robin Hood. And you guys are familiar with that story, right? Robin Hood? So this play was in a high school gymnasium with the big drapes. The problem was, does anybody know what the big problem would be in that type of environment for a Robin Hood play?
Not enough place for the props?
No. The problem is that Robin Hood involved a bow and arrow being shot through the air. And it had to hit something. We didn't want it to hit a person. So how are we going to do that? So we wrote the play, and we thought, you know what? We made up the story, and we added spirits into the forest. The spirits of the forest. And Robin Hood happened in the forest, right? So we had 4 spirits of the forest. We had water, earth, sun, fire, and wind. You have to have all that in the forest, right? So those were the 4 spirits that we came up with. Robin Hood and the other actors would have the bows, and the spirits of whichever one would take the arrow and would carry it through the air and dance around until it hit its target. It was beautiful. And so the last day of rehearsals, I was nervous, and we had a great team. We had great actors. They were amazing. I enjoyed it so much. I was so proud of them. I'm still proud of them. So I was watching them. And I was like, right, that's good. Uh-huh. Yep, keep going, that's right. And then I realized there was a problem. The stage, well, right, Robin Hood took place where? In a forest, right? We had a single tree on one side, a single tree on the other, and it absolutely did not look like enough. And so I was racking my brain. How do we get more trees? How do we make this look right? How are we going to make it work? I thought to myself, I live about 20 miles that way, and I have land, and there's fallen trees around there. I could go grab some branches, but we're opening up tomorrow. I'm not going to have enough time. And so we had rehearsal. And just to back up a bit, I graduated. I arrived at rehearsal. I was in the parking lot. And in that parking lot, there was a huge tree, a very old tree, probably at least 100 years old, in the middle of the parking lot. Do you remember, Chris? That was a big tree, wasn't it? Anyways, once we finished with rehearsal, I went outside just to take a break, get some air. And you know, April in Wisconsin is horribly windy. The story had the spirit of wind, and there was actual wind outside. And I'm hard of hearing, and I heard something. I cranked up my hearing aid. What is that? And I saw a leaf floating by. And then I looked over, and it was that huge tree, and I could hear it creaking. And I was watching it. You know, that tree's about 100 years old, and it was creaking pretty good. Now, in the deaf community, you are familiar with this joke, right? There's this one joke in the deaf community. Hearing people, you might not know this joke. So let me just quickly give you a abridged version of it. I don't want to lose my time, but the joke goes, there was a lumberjack out in the woods, and he was knocking over some trees. And then he would yell, "Timber!" And the tree would not fall. So he yelled again, "Timber!" And nothing happened. And so a person came up to him and said, "Oh, that tree's deaf." And the guy said, "Oh, no wonder. Gotcha. I got it." He fingerspelled Timber. And the tree fell. So anyways, that's not my story. That's just a little sidetrack. So I was in the parking lot. I heard the tree creaking. And I was watching the tree shake and move and tremble and slowly. Have you seen a tree fall before? It can be extremely slow. So it took forever. And finally, it came down in a big boom, cloud of dust. Earth shook. So then I contacted the maintenance people and I said, "Hey, we need to cut this up and get rid of this tree. It's fallen." And then when we were done, I grabbed everything we could and took it to the stage and propped it up all over the stage. You know, who heard me say I needed more wood? The tree, probably the spirit, the air, wind, water, all those spirits. Maybe Peg, maybe all the spirits, Puck, maybe all the spirits heard me, and we had a forest.